Okay, welcome then to this session on supporting systematic reviews. This is part one, and we're looking at searching. So in this first of two parts, we'll introduce the concept of searching the healthcare literature, whether using CINAHL and MEDLINE to support systematic reviews from the initial frame of a question, demonstrating a search using the PICO framework, searching for both keywords and subject terms for, as I said, the EBSCO's databases, CINAHL and MEDLINE. So we may interchange them, but the principles will be the same. And part two, we'll look at how to process search results. So again, we won't get into that too much today, but I will just share objectives in a moment. So for those who have not attended one of these sessions before or met me, I'm Richard Crooks. Been with EBSCO now for more than 14 years, having previously worked in the NHS as a librarian. So I work for EBSCO Customer Training Services team, and I'm a senior customer training specialist. So I support not only UK library services, but also those in Ireland and also the Nordics as well when needed. So welcome to this webinar this morning. Okay, in terms of the actual objectives, I hope that by the end of this session, within the hour, you'll be able to describe the key steps in searching in support system reviews. I appreciate most of you probably know this already. This is really for the benefit of those who may be new to it, those who may be coming back to it, etc. We will then look at planning an appropriate search strategy using the PICO or PICOT framework. There is a PICOT guided search app, which we may not look at today, but that also includes the T element or time or type of study as well. So you have the traditional PICO framework, and type of study or time could be a factor as well. Then there's the matter of saving and rerunning searches, which was something which was implemented for the new interface a number of weeks ago. And also you'll be able to locate and use methodological search filters, especially if you scope literature, want to see what's out there, what's been done before. It maybe that's the first thing you'll do, but we'll look at that toward the end of the session. And also you'll be able to find further support for EBSCO's research databases. And as you can appreciate, our document support team, I've been busy working, updating materials with the latest changes and also removing older classic EBSCO's references as well. So I hope that's what you're expecting for this session. I know for some it may be a review. You may have attended one recently or in the past few months, and you're just curious now to where is the EBSCO's interface? What does it look like now that it's live? For most of you, some of you already had access to this, maybe for the past year, or certainly since August last year. For others, you've only recently changed in the last 3 weeks. So first of all, then, to begin, what is a systematic review? So just a basic definition, if you like, from Oakley and Fullerton: a review of clearly formulated question that uses systematic and explicit methods to identify, select, and critically appraise research, and to collect and analyze data from the studies that are included in the review. So I've obviously highlighted the area, the things that we're going to focus on in this session, since we're looking at searching. So we will have a clearly formulated question and use systematic and explicit methods to identify that content that's available through these databases. So the research that we need to identify. So obviously the goal in supporting such reviews, you are attempting to identify all studies that can meet the eligibility criteria. So all studies could be also interpreted the majority of studies. You may argue it's not possible to include everything or to find everything that's out there. That's maybe more like nowadays with various tools available, but we will do what we can, at least to give you the principles involved in searching on the EBSCO's interface for CINAHL and MEDLINE. So the key steps then regarding the search steps, the key point rather, is to identify what's out there. So that means we need to understand the research question, and we'll have an example of one that you'll see shortly. We'll then turn that question into an appropriate search strategy using a combination of keywords or free text and subheadings. So if it's MEDLINE, of course, mesh terms, medical subheadings, or the subheadings for the CINAHL database. So again, we'll translate that into a viable search strategy, and also to include truncation, wildcards, proximity operators to enhance the information retrieval, to again expand our search, especially in the areas of keyword searching, to find what's out there. Again, we have to identify what is the commonly used terms in relation to diseases, conditions, etc., used by authors, researchers, editors, and so on. And of course, conditions as well. So we have this research question. Now I've changed this. If you want, on the previous session, I had one on cancer patients, etc., but I decided after a few months that maybe I need a change and we'll look at something different. So again, the results may be different, but again, the principles for approaching this will be the same. So the question is, in patients who present with undifferentiated BMP, more helpful, that is B-type brain natriuretic peptide, more helpful in making the diagnosis of heart failure compared to echocardiography or echo. So again, we've got the question, the research question, and you can see I've highlighted some of the key elements respiratory systems, BNP, heart failure, echo. Okay, so again, those terms are highlighted here. And from this point on, we move to the next stage, which is really to frame the process to frame and answer a question. So we've got the 4 elements of PICO. This time I've omitted the T element, the time or type of study, as it doesn't apply in this query. But it's something which is possible with the PICO framework and with the PICO app, which I'll just refer to as we go to the live interface shortly. So we've got patients with undifferentiated respiratory systems. Obviously, that's population group. The intervention of BNP I've mentioned, comparison, echo or echocardiography, and then the outcome, of course, there's the symptoms of heart failure and so on. So we've got the respiratory symptoms, respiratory system as synonyms. We can also include cough and shortness of breath, sore throat, because it's undifferentiated, so not specified as it were, could be wheezing. We've got intervention, BNP, of course, or if you could spell it out, then needed, then you can add that too. And then the comparison with echocardiography, otherwise known as echo. And then we've also got the heart failure or congestive heart failure, CHF, or cardiac failure. So these are the initial free text keyword search terms. You may come up with more. You may dispute some ones I've included, but again, interested to have your feedback on this. And then we've got in uppercase, and these are mesh terms, by the way. So the third row there in uppercase are actually mesh terms. When I initially did this, I did not check CINAHL, but we'll run the search on CINAHL initially. So we've got respiratory system, BNP again, echocardiography, heart failure, and so on. So again, there will be differences between the terms that we can enter. We know that we need to expand our search initially to ensure that we're finding what's out there. So again, it's just breaking down the actual elements of PICO into the appropriate free text keyword search terms and then the corresponding mesh or CINAHL headings as appropriate. And inevitably and typically you'll search across both databases at different stages to ensure that you find what's out there. Okay, so moving on, just to mention a couple of things. Again, you may have different approaches to the systematic review. In some cases, I know some organizations, some universities, for example, when they're teaching this, they focus on unqualified searching. So in other words, you're not selecting any specific search fields. And you can see here for the CINAHL database on EBSCOhost, all fields is there by default, and the same would be true of MEDLINE on EBSCOhost. So all fields in the case of CINAHL means that when you enter your search terms, your free text terms, you're going to search for those terms if they appear in the title, the abstract, subheadings, if it's appropriate, PubMed ID, digital object identifier as well, or DOI, and author fields. So by default, all fields will search within CINAHL across those specific fields. So if your term or terms appear in any one of those fields or all of those fields, it will bring back results. Of course, it won't appear in all because PubMed ID is code, etc. MEDLINE, of course, follows the same suit. Again, all fields in MEDLINE would mean that you are searching for your keyword search terms within the fields highlighted below. So again, that would also include author affiliation, personal name, transliterated title, and so on. So an unqualified search just means it's somewhat broader than a title or abstract search, for example. But again, there are specific fields behind the scenes which it is identifying in terms of where your search term appears in the citation, etc. So we've got more information from the FAQ there included in the slide deck. So again, you can refer to that post session. And just to also clarify, if you want the details of an unqualified search for each database that you use, it could be Health Business Link, for example, it could be APA PsycInfo, if you've got access to it, then we do have database help files that are available through our quick start guide. I may refer to those toward the end of the session, or when we in fact go to the live site, so I can show where you can find that information. So we do have specific information. What are the default fields for searching within the database? Okay, and they will differ, as you can see already, between CINAHL and MEDLINE. Also to know, and again, this may vary between your institutions, and there seems to be a bit of a change with the original settings for search modes that I've noted with the migrations, etc. So search modes are located within search options. So when you come to the advanced search page, which for most of you will be the default landing page, we have search options, and the search modes are shown to indicate when you enter a keyword search, how is it searching? So typically in the past, proximity was the default search mode, which meant you search for terms when they appear within near 5 words or less of each other in any order. So for example, if you put in influenza vaccine, then it'd be influenza near 5 words less of vaccine, or vaccine near 5 words or less of influenza. Now I've noticed the change, as I mentioned. It seems now more are adopting find all my search terms. as the default search. I'm not sure that's been just generally accepted. It's just been mandated by us. But I know in the NHS in England, it's different because it is proximity, but it's been relabeled phrase. And phrase in that instance means within 0 words. So phrase are literal in the sense that words are searched in the order you enter them. So again, for the NHS in England, with the relabeling from proximity to phrase, it means you search for the words in the order you enter them next to each other. So influenza vaccine would be influenza, vaccine, not according to the proximity search. So again, I may refer to this as we go through the session. So again, there are different variations. There's some tweaking that you can do behind the scenes. You can hide some of these elements. And I noticed that search mode says natural language search there. I need to update the slide because that is now rendered AI assisted search to make it more explicit to the users that we're using AI, a large language model, for that particular search mode. So again, natural language search has been superseded by AI assisted search. It's the same functionality. It's just a relabeling to make it more explicit to end users. So again, there's more information on the EBSCO Connect page. You can go to the link provided in the slide deck, or if you're in the live site and some of you may be on it right now following through, then you can click through to EBSCO Connect and that will take you to the appropriate page for search modes. Okay, so again, this unpacks the keyword searching. So we've also got expanders as well. So again, these may vary between organizations. So some institutions will have apply current subjects automatically set, which means that it takes your keyword search related to a particular concept. So if you, for example, you're searching for work-related injuries, it may map to the concept of work injuries, which in terms will identify the various subject headings from a database. So it could be occupational injuries, workplace injuries, etc. So it's a mapping feature. So taking the original keyword search, mapping it to a concept, which in turn then identifies the relevant subheadings of a given database. Okay, so again, there's more information on the EBSCO Connect support site for that if you need more information. Now, it may be that you adopt the way of title or abstract searching, and there's a couple of ways to do this. And we did launch last year the single field code XB for title or abstract searching. So again, you can search directly for the title or abstract simultaneously using this particular field code, and you'll see there's information on how that works within EBSCO Connect. So again, that's the drop-down menu. So again, all fields means you're searching those other fields. Title or abstract means you're focused only on those 2 fields, title or abstract. Okay, and you can also use it as a command line query as well. So for example, if you prefix the search string with XB, it will do the same thing. Now, in addition to keyword searching, we are going to look at subject searching, whether you're using MEDLINE and using mesh terms or CINAHL and subheadings. And we have the suggest subject terms option, which is available originally in the classic interface. But as you note now, it's highlighted, it's indicated on this page. And so you can see here, I've entered the key terms here, and you've got suggest subject terms shown there, highlighted. So it's selected. If you do not want your users to see that, you can hide that. That's using the admin tool, EBSCO admin tool. And then it can also be defaulted to on as well. I know some institutions that default this to on. So essentially, when you enter your keyword search term like GORD or GERD in this example, the suggest subject terms feature is there, and you'll see that highlighted here. So typically that shows search. As soon as you select suggest subject terms, it changes to suggest terms. If you have on by default, then suggest terms will show. You click through to that and it will open up the thesaurus, in this case, the mesh indexing, and you can then select the appropriate subject term from there and add it to your search and rerun the search, run the search, and to retrieve records indexed or assign that subject heading. So again, this is just mapping to the index term. So again, you may work this way. You may want to identify the subject terms initially, the mesh terms, the subheadings, and bring results up, and then do your keyword search with more knowledge of the subject itself. So again, I may work slightly different to that, but again, it's a useful way to identify what the subject terms are in relation to your keyword search terms, and also to run a subject search directly within the interface. So just some heads up on that. And then in terms of truncation wildcards, obviously some of you would have seen this before. Again, these can be applied to CINAHL or MEDLINE. Truncation we've got there, so you can abbreviate words if you like. So if you put diabetes, diabetic, you can put the asterisk after the T, etc. You can also search for terms where they have multiple phrases, if you like. So, for example, ventilated pneumonia could be ventilator associated pneumonia. It can also be ventilator acquired pneumonia. So if you put ventilator asterisk pneumonia, it will find those three variations, including the original one, ventilated pneumonia. Another example would be cognitive therapy. If you put cognitive asterisk therapy, it will also find cognitive behavior therapy and also cognitive behavioral therapy. For exact phrase searching, we stipulate using the double quotation marks. So if you're looking for heart failure, put it in quotation marks, you will find results where at least one instance of the exact phrase is indicated. Now, with the EBSCO platform, you will notice that each term will still be highlighted individually. So if the word heart is mentioned somewhere or failure is mentioned separately, they will still be in bold, but there will be at least one occurrence where the exact phrase is indicated. Now, another caveat to that is there is hidden metadata from the publisher that is not visible to the user. So there'll be occasional instances, results will be retrieved and you wonder, why did this appear? And it's because it's in a hidden metadata field. Okay, good question from Cecilia there. Do you need the quotation marks for phrase searching if phrase searching is already on as a default? I would say yes, based on my experience of using the platform. Typically, yeah, I mean, phrase W0 should find the phrase, okay? But as a safeguard, I would use double quotation marks. Again, you can try it out for yourself and to see what results you get. But in my experience, generally using double quotation marks works more effectively. Wildcard, so that's a single character replacement. So if you don't know the character or you just want to replace it. So for example, if you're looking for man or men, you can put in the question mark for the vowels A or E. And likewise, if you're analysis or analyses, you can replace the I or the E with the question mark. Now, there's alternate spelling, and I would say, generally speaking, this works probably more effectively in MEDLINE than CINAHL. But that is the hash wildcard to search for alternate spelling between UK, US English. So pediatrics, of course, P hash E, diatrics would find both variations. And with behavior, IOUR can be retrieved using the hash wildcard before the R. Okay, so I have seen instances of this. I did run a search from an organization. I amended the search because they were using the question mark wildcard for tumor. So, O question mark R, and that doesn't work in the same way. Okay, so I had to replace that with the hash wildcard. So the hash wildcard is used. So again, tumor would be another example. You could put O hash R to find the various variations of spelling, etc. Again, more information on this is in the EBSCO support site. And then finally, before I go to the live demonstration, we've got proximity search operators. I already referred to this with the default settings, whether it's proximity, which is N5 by default, or as in the case of the NHS in England, it is W0, which is the words in the order you enter them. So near is where words are entered and they're treated regardless of the order and within a specified word range. So if you use gallbladder, if you're searching for gallbladder disease, if you have find all on, by the way, it'll be gallbladder and disease. So both terms must appear somewhere in the citation. If you have the phrase or proximity search on, then, and it's the default setting, it will be gallbladder near 5 words less of disease or disease near 5 words of less of gallbladder. If you have W configured then, or you use the W operator, it's searching for the terms. So ventilator W1 pneumonia means you're searching ventilator within 1 word less on pneumonia, which of course could pick up still ventilator acquired pneumonia, although I'd use the asterisk generally for that particular search. So again, near, regardless of the order, W within the order, so essentially like a phrase. But again, you can specify W0 would find a phrase, but again, I would prefer to use the double quotation marks for exact phrase searching. And multiple terms can be used on either side of the operator. So again, if you're looking for heart failure or cardiac failure, then you can put in parentheses heart or cardiac W0 failure. Okay, so within 0 words. Okay, so that means that it'd be heart failure or cardiac failure that you would retrieve in that instance. Okay, so I think there's a follow-up question. Does near override the phrase search default? It would if you enter. So if you have a default search mode and you're using these precision operators, it will override the default search mode. Okay, so when you talk about the default search mode, it's the one that's selected. Okay, so again, some of these features may be overridden by the fact that you're using the syntax as I've mentioned here. So actually, before I go to the demonstration, we just want to introduce you to the search sets which are live, and we may refer to this today. In fact, we will refer to this today, but I may allude to it again in part 2 as well. So search sets are where you can save the search, the complete search set up to 200 lines or 200 sets. So it could be S1 to S200. they can be saved as a single search set and rerun. So again, gives you an idea what this is. This does. Basically, it's a saved search history from one browser session. So the set of searches are saved together. Okay, so list of search sets will be located under a new tab called search sets. So when you save a search set from the search history page, there is a tab. You go to the save folder, then you will find there is a search sets area. You can sort these sets alphabetically or by creation date, and you can also enter names, descriptions of them. For example, you may put the research question in the description or the PICO strategy, whatever it might be, and then you can edit those later as well. And you can also delete the search sets when they're no longer required. Okay, so basically it's a very useful tool for saving the search, whether you've completed it or not, to rerun it later. Okay, so you can see here, you have the ability to rerun the entire search set, keeping the set order intact. Okay, so that's been around for a few weeks now. Okay, so I know there's a bit to cover here, so I'm going to press on here with the live demonstration. So I'm going to go on to CINAHL. So what I'll do, I'm going to run this search in CINAHL. I have it saved as a search set, by the way, but I'm going to go through the steps in this case. But for MEDLINE, I will switch databases and rerun the search from MEDLINE, and you'll see there's some slightly different results. But again, typically you'll be looking at searching both databases at some point, not necessarily cross-searching them because of the differences with indexing and so on. So let me now go through this with you. Again, keep the questions coming. I may refer back to them toward the end of the session if I don't get around to them during the session. So we've got the first set, which would be respiratory. So I'm going to put in here respiratory. I'm going to use double quotation marks here. And by the way, before I do that, let me just show you this. So search options are here. So I've got proximity here. If you work in the NHS, it'll be phrase. You may have find all on as well, by the way. Again, and you'll notice here, it does say AI assisted search. This is the default. This is the old natural language search. Still does what it should do, but obviously more explicit now. And if you go to EBSCO Connect here, you'll find a detailed breakdown or definition of each of these elements. And now this has been updated as well. Okay, we're not looking at that today, for example. So again, just to highlight that for you. And then the expander, you can see that's on. There's the EBSCO Connect link to that. And also just to mention here, if I go to the new navigation here, you can see navigation has changed because it's now at the top toolbar. We also have research tools and the link to EBSCO Connect. And just to point this out to you, if you're interested and intrigued about what is a default unqualified search for example, Help Business Elite or other databases, then scroll down and you'll see the database help files here. And actually what you can do here for your version of MEDLINE, CINAHL. So for example, you use CINAHL Ultimate, you can go to that link there. Other versions are covered here as well. So obviously CINAHL is one we're using, CINAHL Complete, etc. And likewise, we've also got the references to MEDLINE here as well. So you have MEDLINE, the basic version, or you may have MEDLINE Ultimate or MEDLINE Full Text. So you can click through to any one of those and it will give you the specific database help file. And within that, you'll see the default searches as well. Okay, so just to point that out to you. So I'm going to close that down. Okay, so just some more information there. So in terms of searching then, we'll start off with the exact phrase, respiratory systems, okay. System, language systems as well. Or truncate respiratory could be respiration. Okay, so it could be respiration, so I'll truncate that. I'll then add cough. It gets undifferentiated, so I can add these as well. Shortness of breath could also be a phrase, an exact phrase. Okay. Or wheezing, say wheeze, wheezing, we could truncate that as well, so we can wheeze. Or nasal congestion. Okay, and I'll add one more. Sore throat was also included as well in my original table, as it were. Sore throat, not threat. Okay, so I'm just going to put those in. I am going to run a default unqualified search today. In this example, I'll change it from normally it's XB, but I'll change it to this for now to keep it a bit broader initially, because we will be combining our searches. So this is the free text search that I'm running. I'll click search now, and once I've done that, you will see in a moment it will appear in the search history. Okay, so we've got search history now loading on screen, and you can see we've got the set number, we've got the search terms with the syntax, the asterisk, and so on for truncation. and then the default search options are shown, the results, and then the pancake icon gives you, we know we're in CINAHL. There's a save ribbon, so you can save a single line if necessary. You can save multiple lines, as we'll see. And there's also the tools menu, which allows you to edit the search if you want to make changes to this. You can add it to a project, which is a custom folder, and you can delete as well. We've also now got the delete option above as well. So again, when you have multiple lines, you can delete them at once from this history. The next thing though is look at respiratory. So I'll put in respiratory system, okay, and then see what we come up with here. Okay, so we use the suggested terms. There is a little I button here, it just explains to the user what is meant by this, what does this mean. But the search option is now changed to suggest terms, so we know we're going to be mapped and directed to the index, and you'll see now it's brought up respiratory system. Okay, I can click on to that term. It gives us this scope note, so we need to know, is this what we should be using? You can see what it's used for. We can select it. Okay, if we scroll down, you'll see we've got respiratory system, and that will include the other terms below as well, the narrow terms, because this explode option is on. Now this, in my demonstration account, this is on automatically. It doesn't have to be automatic. You can select it manually. So I know there's been some discussion recently about that. So again, it doesn't have to be set automatically. Again, it's your choice, and that is configured in our admin tool. If you open this up as well, you'll see we've got this scope note and also the ability to select all subheadings. So there may be different aspects of this sort of thing we want to focus on. So for example, it could be etiology, or see what it's relating to immunology and things like this. They may differ with those in MEDLINE. But one thing to note, when you select all subheadings, it focuses the subject search. So when you click, let me just hide this a moment. When you select explode, it's going to include these other terms like larynx, lung, nose, etc. When you select the subheadings, you can select individual ones. For example, immunology, for example, there's a scope note for that one as well. Then it will focus this subject search on this aspect. Now, not all subheadings have been assigned to the heading respiratory system. So again, you may think, well, if I explode and get all subheadings, I'm going to get the same number. You won't get the same number. If you select all subheadings here, then they'll be focused on these areas. So we'll exclude other areas. So now it's select all subheadings, it's still more focused, okay, even when selecting them all, as opposed to just selecting individual ones. Okay, so typically I would just go for the explode option at this stage and then run the search on this. So I'll go to the top of the screen, add to search, and you'll see it's placed in the search box. MH indicates CINAHL heading, plus sign, it's exploded, and click search here. Okay. So once I've done that, I will combine those two sets because they relate to the P element of PICO, the patient population group. So I'm going to select both these. Okay. So these are patients with undifferentiated respiratory symptoms, etc. And I am going to combine them as one group with OR. So you can see the two sets there and run the search here. So that's the keyword search combined with the subject search now, which is now S3 showing up on screen. Okay, and then I am going to do the BMP search now. So that's a bit more challenging. So let me do BMP here, or I'll put in brain type neuro. So naturally, let me get this right here. Peptide. Okay, and again, I'll run this as an unqualified search. Okay, and then that's going to be added to the search history, S4, and then we want to find the equivalent subject search. So for that, it can be more challenging. So I'm going to put in, again, I can try brain. So you get this right here. Peptide, okay. And then suggest subject terms. Okay, so mapping to the appropriate subheading within CINAHL for this intervention. So you can see here where it's rendered, as you can see here. So I can click through to that term. Again, it gives us the information. and then I can select the term itself, scroll down, and you'll see it's a single term. There's no explode option here. Again, there is the option to include all subheadings, but it's going to make it more focused than what I retrieved just with the main term here. Okay, so again, I can select that. I can check if there's anything else here that could be of interest. I'm not an expert on this subject by any means, so I can select this one, but I don't know that, you know, I'll just include that just to broaden the search. But again, you would also consult conditions, for example, nursing staff in relation to the clinical topic, etc. For those who have the knowledge, but I'll include that just as a matter of course in this instance, combine the two subject terms together and run the search to retrieve those records. Okay. Again, we're going to combine in these terms. So again, we're going to combine set 4 with S5 here, set 5 with the Boolean OR, combine with OR. They're placed in the top search box, and then click search here. So that's the intervention that we're looking at. And obviously there's a comparison because it's related to how helpful are these in relation to diagnosing heart failure, etc., and compared to echocardiography, which we'll now look at as well. So I'm going to go to the next stage. So we put in echo here as the acronym, and then OR, echocardiography. Okay. And then all fields for now, and click search here. And I've just seen a couple of questions I'll point out, I'll refer to here. Good question from Linda. Is it possible to apply search options retrospectively if you realize your role was selected initially? Yes, you can do that. I will show you how you can do that. Okay, yeah, you can switch. It's a bit clunky in a way, but it's possible. And also from Claire, is respiratory system redundant if using respiratory? Okay. Possibly. I mean, I just thought, well, respiratory system is the exact phrase. Respiration with the truncation would find respiration, respiratory. So yeah, you could argue that it's redundant. I just think it's preferable to include both personally. Again, I may have a view on that. And Katie, if I want to run across the title, abstract, and that keyword heading in one line, can I do this? Well, we do have the XB field code for title or abstract searching. Okay, so XB would be the one that you'd go for in that context. Obviously, you can still search title or abstract separately on different lines, but XB covers it in one line. Okay, so which is what I mentioned in the slide deck. So yes, if you want to do a title or abstract search in one line, you would choose XB. Unless, of course, you want to do it as a command line query, in which case you can use TI, AB, etc. in the search box as appropriate. XB, does it include keyword heading 2? No, it doesn't. As far as I know, it doesn't. So again, you can refer to the document I included in the slide deck. So let's see. Now I've run the keyword search for echocardiography, and then if we do the equivalent term for the suggested terms, and there are different ways to. You can also go browse by the way, and to go to the thesaurus. I just generally find it's easier to map to the subject term using the suggested terms option. Obviously, if we were Medline, you'll see the mesh headings here, but you'd still have suggested terms as well. And by the way, it can be configured for different databases. Some might have, I mean, it should be consistent for both CINAHL and MEDLINE. So showing off by default or on by default, whichever you prefer. Okay. So let me go for echocardiography. Okay, I'm just going to select it here and then suggest terms. And again, we're going to select the heading here. As you can see, it's displayed there. Again, the scope that's given, what it's used for, and then you see the tree here. So we select this. The exploder is on here. Again, that can be, not on by default, as it were. So we include the other terms below as well. And then add to search, and click search to retrieve records index with those, the main term and also the narrow terms as well. Okay, so again, this is the principles really of searching this interface now, and including the title, the keyword searching, and also the subject searching. So we've got S7, S8 are the index terms for echocardiography. So, the combined free text with the subject term, the subheading, and then search here. Okay. Okay, so you'll notice, of course, it is displayed in reverse chronological order. So you can resort by clicking ID above the set number, and you can see the sequence. Okay, so it will default to showing you the reverse chronological order of the search, shows you where you are, but obviously for reporting purposes, to reproduce this, etc., that's good to have the sequence as shown here. Now, S1 to S9. So we're going to look at the outcome, which relates to the risk of, or the diagnosis for heart failure, if you like. So I'm going to put in heart failure here, run a number of searches. So as I indicated in the previous search, I'll put in heart or cardiac, sorry, in the slide deck, so cardiac, or congestive, because it could be congestive heart failure, and then put W0. Well, it's not case sensitive, so it could be W, it could be uppercase, like so, or lowercase. You may prefer uppercase to make it more obvious, and then failure, okay, and then or CHF, okay, congestive heart failure. So again, variations there that I could use for this. Okay. And let me just check here. I think I need to put another parentheses here. Let me just check this, how this comes out. Okay. So also, if anyone spots any errors or has some recommendations, I can make some changes. I can show how to make the changes once I've done this search. So again, now that's done. Okay, so that's the search string, and then that's S10, and now the equivalent subject term, which would be the last one we do. I have to leave time, of course, for looking at the search filters. So failure, I just put in as my keyword to map to the appropriate subject term. So again, we'll save this or look at this, and then I'll also rerun the same search in MEDLINE, but I'll take a shortcut for that because of time. So heart failure is the CINAHL heading. Again, scope note there, what it's used for. So it's used for congestive heart failure, etc. And then we've got the option to select it. And as we select it, you can see it's selected below. We've also got cardiorenal syndrome and this one. So they're included. And then I can add to the search, click search. And again, wherever you see the plus sign, of course, for the exact heading, it is exploded to include the narrow terms as well. So again, I've got both sets here, so I can combine S10, S11 with OR, and then search here. Okay. So again, just to resort the sequence, I'm going to click ID here, so we can see we're now S1, S12, and then what I can do here, I combine those sets. So we're looking at the initial patient problem, etc., PICO, combined with the intervention, BMP, then echocardiography for the comparison, and then related to heart failure, of course. So it's the 4 elements of PICO there. And then I can combine with the Boolean and you can see them here. Now, one thing to note, if you do not have the clear find field feature enabled, you will find your previous search string will remain here. So I like to have the clear find field enabled to remove it, clear it, so I can easily select the sets, combine them, and they're displayed here. Otherwise, it'll be connected to the previous search. So again, it's a feature that's enabled in our admin tool, EBSCO Experience Manager. So if you're having issues with that, let us know, because it's a simple tick box to enable that feature, and it keeps the search screen, if you like, the search box is blank. So when you are combining, it doesn't mess that up. Okay, as it were. So I'm going to run this now. I will come back to the comments about changing the search mode for a search string, editing the search as well, so you can see what you do with that, how you can do that, etc. And I know there's also some question about references as well, about sorting them. So let me scroll down. We've got 78 records, not a huge number, of course, but this could be our first iteration, so we'll want to explore those. But what I want to mention here is, as you can see with the search options, we've got proximity as the default search mode. And if it's in the NHS in England, it will say phrase. For others, it will say find all if you have that configured. So if I wanted to change this, suppose I would start with set 1, then I would go into the tools menu, edit search details, click edit search, go to search options, and I would select alternatives here. Okay, so find all is and, find any is or. So again, you can do that. I won't change it now, but it will just be displayed in the search history. So you can change the search option. This is in response to Linda's question. And also you can deselect expanders as well if you want to remove those altogether or add other ones here. So again, there are some tweaks that you can do to edit the search. Typically though, when you're editing the search, it may be to do with the search string here. For example, I won't do this, but if I wanted to remove this one based on the comment that was made, respiratory, in fact, let me try that. Okay, I'm going to try and remove this one. So let's remove this one. So what's suggested that we may not need both terms. Maybe respiratory is enough. So what we can do is remove that, update the search, click continue, and we should what if it changes the results. So just going to remove this now. And now the search will update. It will change that search string. I think we've got the same number of results. If I click ID here, you'll see. So I've made the change here. It doesn't appear to have impacted the search negatively. I don't remember what the last set number was. Maybe you recall, but I don't remember. But I've changed it now. So I've omitted respiratory system as a phrase search. I've just included respiratory, which is truncated for respiratory, respiration, etc. But the results in this case are still the same. 78 records. But again, you can see how you can edit search string. Likewise, you can edit combined searches as well. So for example, I take S9, go in to edit this one. If I made a mistake, it should be an and, then I go to edit search, and I can just simply overwrite or there. But you can see the parent search combinations here as well, the dependent searches. Okay, so again, you can make that changes line by line as well. And of course, if you need to, at any point, if you want to delete search strings, then sorry, let me just do that now. You can either go in and delete a line, for example, delete here, or you can select sets and delete. Now, it won't do this for me. It will actually prompt me if I want to do that, and I don't. So again, before you actually delete anything, it will check with you, is that really what you need to do? So you can delete individual search strings. You can delete this whole set as needed as well. So you can select the whole set and delete to clear the screen. Also want to mention here before we move on that we've got as you can see here, the S13 set, which is our combined set, has 78 records shown below. You can see again the key terms in the title are in yellow, the ones in bold also indicated in the subject fields. This one doesn't have an abstract, this one does. And you can see the terms in bold there. Okay, so again, BNP there, cardiac, respiratory, etc., all highlighted there as well. Okay, so you got the references there, okay, shown. And also to note that if you want to view a specific set, maybe you want to explore some of the other key terms that you should be using when you're running a query. So for example, if we go to BNP here, set 4, we can click on that number, results, and it will display that set of results within the result list below. Okay, so now looking specifically, or will be when it's loaded, at the BNP keyword search. So they're now shown. Now what it doesn't do, it doesn't add, fortunately, another set here. So you remain with the existing search, the 13 sets or lines, while we're focusing on S4. Okay, so again, it may be a useful tool just to go through, look at the subject fields, look at the abstract terms where appropriate as well, to see are there other terms that I should be using when I'm searching for this particular element of PICO. Okay, so again, you can use it in that way. Now, obviously, if you want to go back to the final set, then you click on the set number, 78 in this case, it'll take you back to those. Obviously, today we're not going to be looking at saving the records and then processing them because we cover that in part 2. But obviously, if you wanted to apply filters to this, you can. So, for example, if you want English language only articles, you can set English language only from the filter. And notice the filters on the left in this demonstration. There is a choice now. So we don't mandate this. I know in the NHS in England and other organizations, it's now been agreed that it should be on the left. You may still have the original setting, which displays the all filters option and the filters that appear from the right. So now you have the choice. Do you want the filters to appear on the right for your users, or would you be happy to see them on the left, as was the case with the original classic interface? So again, you have a choice on that now. So again, you may want to inquire further about that. Again, if you're part of a consortium like the NHS, maybe the HSC in Ireland, then you may already see that happening. Okay, but I'm going to apply this filter, and then you'll see we're now looking at English language only articles. So again, obviously so the majority are, in English, all but one. And you can see the filter is also recorded in the search history. Okay, so I just want to move on quickly here to make sure that I am where I should be at this stage. So let me just see where we are. I think we need to look at the search sets now. So saving the search itself, okay, obviously you may or may not have completed this. Again, maybe the first iteration, you may think I need to change some of these things. So what we'll do, there are a couple ways to do this. First of all, you can save using the save ribbon. So if you click this save ribbon here, then you will have it displayed in the search. Now it's saying you should sign in here. So if you're part of a consortium like the NHS, they have single sign-on. So when you authenticate into CINAHL and MEDLINE, then automatically your EBSCO personal or folder account is synchronized and you're signed into it. So we generally advise users to create an account so you can save the search beyond the session, save results beyond the session, etc. So what you would do here in this instance, you would go into EBSCO, either create the account if you don't have one, or you just sign in. So in this case, you could just literally set this up straight away, note the password and the criteria for that, agree to the consent form, and then you could sign in. I'm going to sign in as myself on this page. And then once it's signed in, it will change the EBSCO area to your name or researcher, whatever it might say. So our demonstration sites have researcher. So I've got my name here. With this area now, I've got the projects. This is the custom folder, the save folder, and then recent activity. So this is tracking. This will track what I've been doing. Okay, so it does give you a search history. So in chronological order, reverse chronological order, so you can sort this to see where you started from. So that's my search history, but it's not the only way to display it or to save it. You can still download it from here. You can add it to a project folder, and you can delete as well. And any view records will be stored here, which I don't have any. So it is tracking what you're doing, okay, as you're running the search. And then the save folder would include any save records, any save searches, and I've got some previously, and you can see it's now saved this one. Okay, as you can see there. Okay, so these may be ones I've run before. Okay, so it's saved it there. Okay, which is not probably the best way of doing it. I've got search sets, so I'll show you this in the slide deck. So now I've got these two searches, right? So I've done this before in CINAHL and MEDLINE. Okay, and I've got other searches here, and I can sort them alphabetically as well, as you can see here. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a moment. So what I'll do here, go back to my search. I'll mention also that you can download the search as well, so you can go in as well as you can select and download, okay, the search history as well. I won't, for the sake of time, I won't go into show this, but you can use PDF Word or CSV if you prefer a table, which you can edit in Excel, by the way. Okay, so the option's there. Now at the moment, I'm noticing here, you can download up to 1,000 sets onto a line. That's lines basically. So that is something there. So it's increased from 500 to 1,000 now. You can add it to a project. So a project folder is a custom folder that you would set up. So for example, in this case, I can create a new project here. So I can give it a name. So I'll put it as, I just put in diagnosing heart failure. Now, just for the sake of time, I can give it a due date. If it's a search on, with system reviews, there may be a deadline. Maybe it's a few months away, so I'm going to give myself to the end of December for this one. Okay, or actually just make it before the Christmas holidays, so 23rd. Okay, I can give it description, so it could be the actual research question, could be the department I'm doing it for, colleagues, etc. I can create this, and then this project has been created and the search has been added. So if I go to my project folder now, and that does require you to be signed in as a EBSCO user, go to projects, And you'll now see I've got a list of projects, including this one, diagnosing heart failure. And if I click through to that, go to my searches, and it gives me the search here. Okay. Again, this is kind of what's been around for some time now with the interface. However, we do have, as I've mentioned, the save search feature. So save search sets. So if I go back now, I can go in to select again, or just save search set. So if I click save search set here, I will give it a name. So I'm going to put in, I'll put BMP and echo. I've done on heart failure. Okay, I won't give it I won't assign the database this time because I've done it before. So what I'm going to do is just, and I can put in the query here and save this. Okay, and then if I go to my save folder now, you'll see search sets, and it's saved here. Okay, so I click on that one, and you can see we've got the search there, it's saved, and then you can see the search history. Okay, then you can resort that one. So that means you can click on this and rerun the search. Okay, now you'll notice that when the ampersand there doesn't really get rendered that well in this area. So what I can do, go into the tools menu, edit this, and change that to and. So it displays more effectively. Maybe there'll be an update for that. So I'm just going to relabel this and see BMP and heart failure. Again, you can go for the newest or alphabetically. So we'll throw in heart failure now. Okay. And of course, you can go in and delete if needed. Okay. What I will do, I'm going to delete this one for now. Okay. I will go back. We go into the filters. So I know we're running out of time. I will clear the search string. I'll clear the screen. So clear this now. So I'm done with that. I mean, obviously it's deleted that one, but for now I'm going to just remove this one. I'm going to delete it. Okay. Hit delete here. Okay, so it's removed. Click new search. Come back to the landing page. And now what I'll do, I'll switch databases. So I'm going to go from CINAHL, to MEDLINE. Click select. Go to my save folder. And then I'll go to the search sets and I'll choose this one. This is the MEDLINE one. So I click on through to that. You can see the search here. I've got more results with this MEDLINE search, as you probably would expect with this topic. So I will click rerun search set. And that will now rerun in MEDLINE that search that I did yesterday. So now you'll see it appearing in the search history for MEDLINE. Okay, so I'm not having to redo the search. I'll just take it from the Save Search Sets tab in Save folder and rerun it. And you can see the results here. Again, you can resort as needed. And you can see MEDLINE is the database we're using. Okay, and then you can also do the same with the results and look at processing them in the next session. So what I might do here is just jump back to PowerPoint. Okay, Anita's asking about the copying the complete search strategy from the EBSCO databases, so where it can be, appears in plain text, can be copied in one go. So probably I would argue that the best option probably at the moment, I mean, some have taken screenshots, obviously, that may not be the ideal one, a way of doing it, but there's also the CSV option, which allows you to, edit the columns, etc., in delete fields in Excel. So that probably will be the best option currently. You can download the search history in rich text format as well, obviously in Word as well, and then you can edit that accordingly. So just recap then, so obviously this is the PICO search we ran in different areas, covered the 4 areas in the search history, as you see there. And if you apply filters, they're also indicated in the search history and will be noted when you save that. Okay, we do have the CINAHL MEDLINE help sheets for the detailed syntax, how you can use them, so what they do, examples of using them, etc. We've also got comparisons with other interfaces if needed as well. So again, they're available for EBSCO Connect. So just to quickly go through some of the methodological search filters that you can apply as well. Maybe you want to look for other potential search terms. You want to see what's been done before. You have the evidence-based practice filter, which is selected from the default landing page. That's the filters column next to search options, and that will be applied so that you can retrieve articles from evidence-based practice journals, articles about evidence-based practice, research articles including certificate reviews, and commentaries on research studies. So basically, this EBP practice limiter searches the special interest field for the value evidence-based practice within records in CINAHL. For MEDLINE, we have EBM reviews. This is a quick method to limit your search to the following 6 titles. So obviously the Cochrane database, that includes the gold standard systematic reviews. So again, that's included. So again, when you select EBM reviews, it will pick up any Cochrane reviews, anything from the ACV Journal Club, clinical evidence, evidence-based mental health, nursing, etc. Again, it's an option that you select from the filters menu on the default landing page. Then we have the clinical queries filters. So these can be applied also from the default landing page. So for CINAHL, we have these 5 research areas: the therapy, prognosis, review, qualitative, and causation. And for each of these 5 research areas, there are 3 strategies. So you see here on the left there, the high sensitivity, which is the broadest search, high specificity, the most targeted search, and then the best balance between the 2. So for each of these strategies, there is, and in relation to these research areas, there are command lines behind them. So you can see here the use of MH for the exact heading, for CINAHL, the use of TI, title or abstract, etc., and the various elements of syntax, such as the plus sign for exploding terms, the use of the truncation as well. So again, this is an example with therapy and the search streams behind those 3 strategies for that area. Likewise, with MEDLINE, there are additional research areas covered. There's 9 in total. I won't read through all that, but again, the same 3 strategies: high sensitivity, specificity, and best balance are also applicable. And again, using another example here with diagnosis, you can see the search string behind high sensitivity strategy or specificity or the best balance between the 2. And again, we have more information that's available. So just to quickly show you that, well, actually, I'll point this out where you can find that rather than run the search because of time. I'll just show you where you can find that and then the interface. So we won't run this, but if I just point out to you here. So this is the default landing page. Again, we're looking at MEDLINE now. And if you scroll down, you'll see filters is the opening tab. You'll see EBM reviews filter here. And then also below that, you'll see the clinical queries filters there as well. These are available here. Okay. And if I switch over to CINAHL here, to do the corresponding page, okay, select, you'll see again filters is the opening tab there, and then you'll see evidence-based practice, and then also clinical queries is also here as well, the different areas there. So again, you can enter your search terms above. We do support up to 12 rows here, by the way, for line by line searches. So again, you can apply the filters accordingly. Okay, so let me just go back to begin to wrap up. So again, obviously with the new interface, there's a big push to ensure that we're meeting Prisma requirements, etc., which I know you need to adhere to, etc. So again, the choice of database, etc., how you're searching and so on. So again, more recent enhancements to the search history, which are now live. And just to, again, some take-home points, just to consider, also use PICO. You've got other frameworks that you can use to construct the search strategies. Use the keyword subject searching. Again, some of you may defer to the title abstract searching as opposed to general keyword or general unqualified searching, but search the keywords within those fields, as was also brought up in the session, and use the save search sets and to save and rerun searches as I demonstrated for CINAHL and MEDLINE, and also make sure that you use the EBSCO syntax. Obviously, you may find that other provider syntax could still be used, but results will not be as accurate. And then consider using the methodological search filters when available to identify key articles to give clues for search terms. So again, just to briefly introduce those to you. So again, I've included some of the support materials. Again, more information on proximity searching, using the search sets, editing searches. Again, these are all live. And of course, EBSCO Connect is the main support portal with our tutorials, and also a link to Learning the EBSCO Academy, which provides additional tutorials, videos that you can refer to as well. Okay, and for upcoming training sessions and past recordings, we also have the training resources portal as well. So this has been recently updated. So again, there are sessions scheduled for August as well. Part 2 is included in that. So I'd expect you to be there if you can make it, but it will be recorded as well. So providing the attendance is sufficient. Okay, so I appreciate we're at the end here. I just might refer to Jason's question earlier. I have a number of saved searches. Is it possible to sort these according to title of search? So I don't believe it is at the moment. I know search sets can be sorted by A to Z alphabetically, and also by the most recent. but I'm just going to double check here. Again, some of these things may be coming in the future. Yeah, so currently searches can only be sorted by the most recent and the oldest. Okay, so you may have a kind of coding mechanism that you use, but search sets can certainly be saved alphabetically. So yeah, so with the saved searches, they can only be so search sets can be saved alphabetically or oldest or newest. Whereas the searches in the save folder, it's only newest to oldest. I think it's been raised before, but we can raise that again. When I run these only and the results set has a number of references next to it, is the search working properly? Okay, when I run these, has a number of references next to it. So maybe need more clarity of that for part 2 of that question. I'm not sure if I fully understand that. Okay, well, so I appreciate your time today. And of course, you can contact me directly as well at rcrooks@ebsco.com. If you're working in NHS, then we recommend going through the service desk. But for other organizations, you may want to go through to EBSCO Connect to report queries or contact your local EBSCO account team. Okay, thank you.